Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm your host, Locke Hoover. As always, you can follow me on X at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on X. You can also check us out at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on the show, the Falcons got it right. Something that even Tim Tebow did not get. Is their piece of the ball club? Is this piece of the ball club falling into place for the Braves? And is it even worth it at this point? And that's where I want to start it today. If it's even worth it, giving out huge NIL money to 5-star quarterbacks, as every quarterback in the 2023 class besides Arch Manning transferred. Everyone. So there's a total, this is all four of them combined, of around $4 million spent on these 5-star quarterbacks that transferred out, that originally committed to their schools. That's Nico. That's Jackson. I mean, that are no longer with SEC programs, no longer with their schools. One of the kids on his third school already. $4 million spent on a total of these four quarterbacks out of high school that transferred. My question, maybe schools will stop spending top dollar on that quarterback. Could drop some, but it's not going to be a total drop off. I don't think we're not going to be going from, say $2 million that Nico got to then 500,000. I mean, that it's not going to be that big of a drop off. Instead of $2 million, it might be, hey, here's $1 million. And then we're going to go spend that additional money on offensive linemen, on some receivers to build more pieces around you. I don't see them still making mid-tier money. I don't see it happening. I mean, to me, I don't think some teams it really matters. It doesn't matter if it's 1 million or 3 million on a high school quarterback. I see it happening. It doesn't matter. Hey, we can do it because we're X school, because we're Oregon, because we're Georgia, because we're Alabama, because we're Florida, because we're Tennessee, because we're Ohio State, because we're Texas. We can do it. It doesn't matter. And then you see how it falls. Maybe they become the guy. Maybe they transfer out just like majority of them do. But I could, and I would like to see this. I could see a change in structure of the deal. I mean, maybe more incentive based. You know what? We'll give you $1 million flat, opportunity to make $4 million. Incentive structured laden deals. Things like that. I think would be a better overall structure. But on the whole, I don't think it's really going to change the landscape that much. As some schools, they have to hit on their quarterback in order to compete and have a real chance at winning a national championship. I mean, look at perfect example. Look at Louisville when Lamar Jackson was there. What was Louisville during that time when Lamar Jackson was there? Without Lamar Jackson, they weren't in the conversation. And they still lost, 3 games, I believe? Memory serves me correct. They still lost 2 or 3 games and say they're out of it. But for a stretch there, this Louisville school is interesting. This Lamar Jackson kid, he's all right, He's got a chance, and that's really where it is with some of these schools. Say perfect example like Tennessee. 7 to recruiting 7 to 15 in the country. Pretty good. But that's what, 5th, 6th, maybe 7th in the SEC, depending on the year, depending on what Tennessee recruits and how everything else falls. I mean, it's tough. And that's the program where the elite quarterback can put them over the hump and have a real chance to compete for a national championship. Because they still don't have the depth and the recruiting stats that Georgia has. Class after class after class after class after class after class. Look, they won 2 national championships off that defense. Yes, Stetson had a good year, 2 good years, but they didn't have faith in Stetson. The fan base didn't have faith in him. They brought in JT Daniels to supposedly be the guy. So that just shows you how much faith they had in Stetson Bennett. JT Daniels got hurt. Stetson Bennett just played well enough because of the defense and the innovative offensive by Todd Monken. He wasn't an elite quarterback. See, that's my point. There's different schools, different programs. Some work. Yes, Georgia's going to get your elite 5-star quarterbacks, 4-star kids, get your top kids, but they didn't want him with Carson Beck. He was a 5-star, might have been a 4-star. JT Daniels. He was a portal kid, but much more highly recruited and looked at than Stetson Bennett. They didn't want one with him. They won with Stetson Bennett twice, leading them to the national championship game and winning. Georgia's at a point in the program where they can do that. They don't need that elite quarterback to get them there. Some schools do. Tennessee is one of them right now with where they fall in the recruiting rankings and the kids that they bring in. And that's okay. Different programs have to do different things in order to make it work. Now, it's funny that Nico says this. I've already, when I was doing this segment, already had this already down. Nico wanted to see more investment in the offensive line and his receivers around him. Well, okay, yeah. Nico, that's fine. We can do that. Can I have $1 million I'm paying you to invest in the offensive line, whether it's the portal or whether it's the high school ranks? Can I use some of that money to get that elite receiver in the portal or in the high school ranks? Is that okay? Nico, we good with that, right? You want a better team around you? I do too. We do too. Tennessee, absolutely, Nico. Everybody does, right? Can we have some of that money? No. Well, why not? We said you wanted a better team. We can give you what we can give you, but sometimes we need some of that money to distribute out. Well, I didn't mean that. Come up with that other $1 million, $2 million, some other way. Nico's saying basically, which we all know him transferring out of Tennessee was BS. I covered that obviously in my last podcast. It was all about money, of course. But, he said he wanted more offensive lineman protection and weapons at wide receiver. Sure, we all do. Every team does. But there's a give and take on that. And, we've seen that might be starting to be the case for Tennessee, where the entire nation saw Tennessee take a stand at quarterback saying, enough's enough. Here's what we're paying you based on your production. And we're going to use some of that money now maybe to go get an O-line, a lineman or two, another wide receiver or two. And we're ready to rock, right? So to an extent, I think I could see it changing a little bit, maybe a tick, a hair down, and that's it. And you've seen Tennessee now going to hold their ground when they're talking to a high school recruit of, hey, I want 3.5 million or I want 2 million. No, we said 1.5 million. We said 1 million, whatever. We would need that other 500,000, that other million, whatever the number is, to go get another O lineman or another wide receiver to build around you to make you better. So to an extent, I think it might, but on the whole, I really don't see it because college football is becoming more quarterback driven than it used to be. A lot more like the NFL in that sense than it used to be. Speaking of the NFL, obviously the first round of the draft happened on Thursday, and thank goodness my Falcons got it right in the first round. Not once, but twice in the first round. We'll get to that in a little bit later on. But they drafted one of the best players available at the 15th pick in Jalen Walker. Thankfully, he came from a Power 5 conference, obviously in Georgia. Guy who gets after the quarterback, whether you want him as a linebacker or defensive end. Probably second best graded pass rusher in the draft. He's versatile. Do you line him for linebacker, line him at defensive end? Maybe you do both during the game, just kind of depending on the personnel and what you want to do. But that versatility, I think, is a plus to whether it's in or at linebacker for the Falcons. And I was so nervous. I was kidding with a buddy. I was like, all right, what North Texas guy are we drafting? What North Dakota State, South Dakota State guy are we drafting in the first round when Jalen Walker's sitting right there for you? What are we doing? How are we going to screw this up, right? I was ready for it. I was prepared for it. Being a Falcons fan, seeing how they draft, knowing what they do. I was, all right, hang on to your butts. Let's see how they screw this up, right? Thankfully, that was not the case. And they got a good player that can have their quarterback as someone of need. I was like, all right, cool. I can now just kind of kick back and just see what happens the rest of the draft. And lo and behold, I was very surprised the Falcons trade back into the first round. With only 5 picks in the draft total coming in this year. And they traded back in. I was like, all right. What are we doing? Where are we going? Are we going to go to corner, attack, or maybe we go get an O lineman? Either, there's a lot of good options. There's a lot of needs for this Falcons team. Where are we going? But I like it. I like the picking James Pierce. Yes, I've seen a lot of him in Knoxville, at Tennessee, but I like what he did in Tennessee's last 2 years, obviously. I also like he's played big boy football from a power conference. In the trade, Falcons, of course, got a first from the Rams for the James Pierce selection and a third, traded a 2025 second and 7th, and then the big one was a 2026 first rounder. And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, okay. A first round pick in 2026. Huh. It's a gamble. It is. This season is obviously going to really dictate if it worked out. You hope it's a late first round pick. By late, I mean in the 20s, mid-20s. Because you know what that means? Obviously, in the playoffs. if it's a late round, first round pick, it's like it's a trade off because you like the pass rusher, you like the fit of what you need, and then it's a gamble for sure to trade a 2026 first rounder. But we've seen gambles ain't no thing for Terry Fontenot, as he drafted obviously Penix last year after signing Kirk Cousins. Penix sets Falcons up for the future, but they're trying to win right now with Kirk Cousins based on last year's draft for the 2024 draft. So it's very, very interesting gamble these last 2 years, and a huge risk. 2 huge risks really in 24 with Penix and 26 or the 25 with James Pierce. And it's really going to see how it turns out next year. And I think Fontenot knows that. I think it's kind of showed you this. I think Fontenot knows his job's on the line, because if they don't make it to the playoffs, the 26th draft won't matter to him. It won't matter much. Who cares? He's like, why does this matter to me? I'm not the GM for the Falcons anymore. They make the playoffs, get good production from Pierce and Walker, and then of course good play from Michael Penix. He brings that level up. He's not gone, and it's like, all right, let's see where this goes. And I like the Falcons once again doubling down on the pass rush. Let me just read you the last 3 years. The Falcons ranked second to last in sacks last year with 31. In 2023, ranked 21st in the league in sacks with 42. And then 3 years back, 2022, ranked second to last in sacks with only 21. Has pass rush been an issue for the last, decade outside of the one blurb of Vic Beasley? Yeah, I'd say so. You get 2 of the top 5 passers in the draft, which is a huge need. If this works out, if they do what they're supposed to do, it only makes your defense and your secondary that much better. You get more pressure on the quarterback. There are more scrambles. It makes your secondary look better, makes your corners look better, being able to cover. I like it, what Fontenot did. I'm surprised he went in on this draft a little bit. But he goes, let's do this. Now, of course, it's a wait and see how the rest of the draft turns out, where he goes. But that's a good start. Is he able to trade Kirk Cousins for a probably not? You probably can't get a second from him. Third, fourth, fifth round pick. And some of that might determine, how much money the Falcons are willing to eat or whatnot. There's a netted draft pick right there. Yeah, there's some teams that still need quarterbacks, as Pittsburgh didn't take a quarterback in the first round. Browns option as well. Giants are off the board after getting Jackson Dart, and then they've got Russell Wilson and even Jameis right there, all in that quarterback room. Yeah, Shedeur Sanders is on the board. Maybe he goes top of the first round of the Browns, or maybe he goes to Pittsburgh later in the second round as well. Once again, that's one of those teams would be off the board for the trading for Kirk Cousins if that happens. Yeah, and of course you get there's other names as well. Howard in that group, McCord, Quinn Ewers, wherever all these guys, they have them ranked on the board is kind of all over basically what we've heard. But maybe maybe now after the first round, obviously the first round settled, it's over, can kind of see now what these teams might want to go with. Yeah, I'll give you a fourth for Kirk Cousins. Okay, cool. Let's do the deal. So another option there to potentially pick up a pick with Mike from the Falcons and Terry Fontenot now. Something else that still needs to be figured out is this Braves bullpen. Still very much a work in progress, as I feel like the only set in stone thing is the ninth inning, and that's Raisel Iglesias, and almost the eighth inning as well, as you don't have your stables anymore, and AJ Minter, who's obviously with the Mets, and Joey Menez, who's out potentially for the year. Maybe you get him back in August or September, fingers crossed. But we've been seeing Daysbel Hernandez in that high leverage, that eighth inning a lot. Sometimes that seventh inning, top of the order, and he's looked good. He's looked lights out. So you feel good. And outside of his walk rate, still a little you feel good about Daysbel, and obviously that's where Snit's kind of leaning as well. Then you got Pierce Johnson. He's kind of been all over. Sometimes a sixth inning, sometimes seventh, eighth inning, but they're all high leverage, close games, Braves in the lead type thing. Then you got Dylan Lee, your lefty, probably your top lefty, who's, your seventh, maybe eighth inning, depending on the lineup construction, sometimes sixth inning, but once again, that high leverage, important role. After that, it's a coin flip on a trust factor to see who really figures it out and who's throwing well, or you hope might throws well that day. As you made a trade earlier in getting Montero, upgrade the bullpen. Been inconsistent. Got him from the Astros. I think you're spending some of that money you're getting from Jerson Profar, since you don't have to pay him that salary for that 80 games. So you get some money to spend. So use that. And De Los Santos, is it good at times? Not so good at times. Mid-leverage situation, sometimes high leverage. Hopefully they don't blow it. Maybe you're up, maybe you're down one or two. Those are your guys. Hold them right there. And then you've got Aaron Bummer, who hasn't been used in a lot of high leverage situations. Your second lefty, but just he's good. I like him. He just hasn't been used the best way, really. I think a lot of this is Ross is still trying to figure out roles independent. You hear so many former players saying, especially in the bullpen, knowing your role is such an important thing. Of you can look at game situations and get mentally prepared, starting to get ready, or maybe start stretching a little bit. Have your power bar, have your Red Bull, have your Gatorade in the all right, fourth inning type game. Get my mind right, getting focused on this game as opposed to, having fun, goofing off the first couple innings down there, which happens for sure. I get it. In that bullpen, start knowing your roles. You're comfortable where they can expect to go in and be ready for that. I still don't think this bullpen's a finished product. I mean, hopefully they're still in this Braves team, still in the playoff push. This isn't going to be the bullpen you finish with, I don't think. Wait and see what you get from Craig Kimbrell. He's been moved up to AAA now. Not ideal, really. Good results, but only throwing 92, 93. A little bit concerning. I was hoping 93 to 95. That's still that nasty slider. So hopefully he's still working his arm back into shape. And it's taken him a little while, so it makes me wonder if he hadn't thrown much. He didn't throw much at all during spring training, since obviously he didn't get signed till after spring training in. Maybe he didn't throw it all off the mound anywhere or flat ground or what. Maybe some flat ground through some, but off the mound, no bullpens at any college or school or anywhere like that. So that might be a little bit, and hopefully that's the case. He can get his velocity up. I think Anthopoulos is going to make some moves at the deadline, a bullpen piece or two to upgrade, and that's really needed if this Braves team wants to get to the ultimate prize. Postseason and World Series obviously is really what it's at, especially with concern to the starting rotation. You might have to lean a little bit more in that bullpen. Spencer Strider's still out, obviously. Nervous with Bryce Elder. I'm guessing AJ Smith-Sauver will be back up there. You don't count on him past 5 innings, really. Anything past 5 right now from him is a bonus. Elder, hold your breath. Last 2 starts, Grant Holmes looked good. You still want to see a little bit more from him. You can consistently get him into the 6th inning, 6 innings, start feeling a little bit better, but there's a lot of wear and tear in that bullpen, especially with those three nights that they're out there pitching on most occasions as it is now. Something is mind-blowing to me. I can't understand why a team that went 13-14 and never won a bowl game in its last 2 years, with the highest they've been ranked is 16th, would be retiring college football numbers. But then you look at the last name and it's Sanders. You're like, oh, okay. That makes sense why they're doing it, because Deion's the coach. If Shedeur Sanders' number, last name is not Sanders related to Deion, no way in the world his number gets retired. Yes, I know it's weird, portal, but he only spent 2 years at Colorado. Obviously, we know why. He was only there 2 years. He didn't win a bowl game. He didn't win a Heisman. He didn't win anything. Nationally, yeah, he won the Offensive Player of the Year, the Big 12 Player of the Year. Cool. That gets your name retired? Team awards overall, 13 and 12. The highest you were ranked was 16th. So why does Shedeur Sanders' number get retired? Now, Travis Hunter, okay. I see that on their realm, sure. Heisman winner, now the number 2 overall pick. But, of course, they announced his numbers getting retired before the draft. Granted, they knew he was probably going to be a top 5 pick. He was 2. So there's that. But still, Sanders. So you're telling me Shedeur Sanders' number is getting retired, but Tim Tebow didn't get his number retired at Florida. Joe Burrows' number still not retired at LSU. 2 different and similar circumstances. And Burrow, obviously, both a transfer, but look at that 1 year at LSU. He's loved in Baton Rouge. Obviously, the Natty, the Heisman, top pick in the draft, Okay, sure. He was on there 1 year, but boy, oh boy, was it a year, huh? And Tim Tebow, Heisman, won 2 national championships, heart and soul of that Florida program for 4 years there. First round pick. Granted, he didn't do anything in the NFL. We know that. Probably shouldn't have been a first round pick. That's neither here nor there. But you know what? He was a first round pick. So there's that. What he did in college, Heisman, 2 national championships, kind of writes itself. His number's not retired at Florida. But once again, Florida's had so much success, so many successful quarterbacks, so many successful programs. It's just, yeah, you're a Florida Gator. It's what you do. You win. You win titles. You win Heisman. and you're just a long list of someone from the previous guys that won him. It's so what? LSU, same expectation. Your expectations to win a Natty. Your expectation to win a Heisman. The long list of great players that play at this program. Yeah, that's what you do. This is Florida. This is LSU. It's what we do. We win titles. And then know what? The person after you wins a title. And the person after you wins a title. It's old hat, no big deal. It's crazy. Shedeur Sanders. If he wasn't Deion's kid and his kid wasn't coaching there, no chance. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You guys should check us out at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. As always, I'm Locke Hoover. You can listen to Lock It Down Sports. Talk to you next week.